competition.
Thompson actually won that snowmobile 3 times. Twice I sold the winning tickets.
Did you take the
How
other
many
piece
more
out?
tickets did you sold, Doc?
Did you take the other piece out yet?
I didn't grab them, but they'll contact, right?
After Duncan changes your phone number to his.
I guess.
No, I get 10%.
Yeah,
Any one
right.
of you win, I get 10%.
After the fact.
Yeah, right.
So what is that? Like the windshield or the?
Yeah. Left ski.
Still work, I can sell it.
So back to.
And this council is why we have to be done by 6:45,
6:45.
Oh, okay, yeah.
because he's still working to get this going.
Oh,
We'll
We weren't
start
done till 6:51.
5:45 maybe for the future meetings. So get your full hour.
Just don't put anything controversial. You get it done easy.
What is happening?
Yeah. About the time we plan one early and then we're finished early.
We're doing different with the company, but there's, you go back.
Yeah, I just didn't rather want to.
I think they were.
Decision.
No, well, you don't come, you just, a lot of things that are present.
You know what's scary, actually, is I put a work order in for the lights to be changed 3 weeks ago. Because it's nice and bright in that corner where no one is. It's really dark. over here. Looks like some of the lights were changed.
Where's the people be out for contractor doing the maintenance?
No, we do those internally for the lights.
No, you better use it.
Oh.
Is Brian in yet? or-
Yeah, you're up there.
Oh,
This
oh,
Bowflex.
okay.
Want to turn the TV towards the mayor?
Yeah, I can't see what's on the TV.
I'm gonna work the last of these.
You guys just tell me when he has his hand up.
You guys hand up.
Casper, we ready?
Everybody ready?
Paul?
We're going to call this variation meeting to order, November the 16th, 2020 at 7:06 PM. Variation order number 993-20-171 Pre-Road. Supporting material for variation order number 993-20-171 Pre-Road, Lot A, Plan 5526, to decrease the required side yard setback from 3 meters, or 3 feet, 3 meters, 10 feet, to 0.943 feet for an accessory building in a public institution zone P1. Go to administration.
Yeah, this is an application that's come through to the Development Review Committee. It's been reviewed with no concerns. And this is the period, I believe, where anyone can come forward and say if they have any,
Yes. Okay. We're receiving representations for objections. Please come to the front, state your name. For a second time, we're receiving presentations for or against. Third and final time for variation order number 993-20-171 Pre-Road. Seeing none, call for adjournment. Councilor Valentino, Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, all in favor? Carried. Next, we'll move on to for November 16, 2020, public hearing bylaw 2020. Oops. Sorry, you guys, my mask is just my. Bylaw 2000-2020 zoning bylaw amendment. Meeting called to order. Supporting documentation for bylaw 2000-2020 being a zoning bylaw by adding a cannabis retail store dispensary as a permitted use in CMU and CDT1 zones. Go to administration.
Yes, this is a recommendation that's come from the provincial planner as well as through the Development Review Committee. It's to make a change to the zoning bylaw that'll create a new use class definition of cannabis retail store or dispensary, and it'll make changes to the maps to allow this as permitted uses in or not to the maps, to the conditional permitted uses to allow in the CMU zone, which is commercial mixed use in the commercial downtown 1 zone.
Thank you. At this time, we'll receive presentations in favor or opposed. Calling for a second time. Presentations for or opposed. Third and final time for bylaw 2000-2020 zoning bylaw amendment. Seeing none, call for adjournment. Councillor Valentino, Councillor Prue, all those in favor? Carried. Next, we'll 7:09. We'll call the regular city council meeting to order for November the 16th, 2020. I would like to start by recognizing that we are on Treaty 5 land and we are all treaty people. Next, I'd like to call for a motion to amend to remove item 3.3 from the regular meeting of council agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, seconded by Councillor Valentino. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now I'd like to have approval of the agenda as amended for November 16th. Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, Councillor Fountain, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Now it's community feedback. Please come stand where you are. State your name if you have any concerns. Calling for a second time, community feedback. Tammy, did we have any phone calls or anybody calling in today?
No, we did not.
Thank you. Third and final time, community feedback. Thank you. Seeing none, we will proceed. The adoption of minutes for variation order number 992-20 for November the 2nd, 2020. Resolution 2020-194, moved by Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, seconded by Councillor Fountain. Be it resolved that the minutes of the public hearing for variation order number 992-20 held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba on Monday, November the 2nd be adopted as circulated. Administration
Nothing further.
and councillors, Councillor Ellsworth.
Yes, thank you, Madam
Deputy
Mayor. After looking through this variation order, I remember just recently, we discussed a private one that was only, I think, 8 inches from the neighbor. At least this one's a few feet, and I think it's a good community service to do something like this. And so I certainly will be supporting that.
Thank you. Any other comments from councillors? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
5.2 is regular meeting of council, November 2nd, 2020. Resolution 2020-195, moved by Councillor Wong, seconded by Councillor Fountain. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba, on Monday, November the 2nd, 2020, be adopted as circulated. Administration?
Nothing further.
Councillor Wong?
Nothing to add, Madam Mayor.
Any other councillors? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And I'll move into resolutions. Resolution 6.1 is a resolution to approve variation order number 993-20 for 171 Cree Road. Resolution number 2020-196, moved by Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, second by Councillor Valentino. Whereas the City of Thompson is in receipt of a variation order application number 99320-171 Cree Road, Lot A, Plan 5526 PLTO North Division 2, decrease the required side yard setback from 3 meters 10 feet to 3 feet 1 meter for an accessory building in a public institution zone P1. And whereas under the provisions of the Planning Act, a public hearing has been held to hear representations for and or against the variation order. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve variation order of application number 993-20-171 Cree Road, Lot A, Plan 5526 PLTO North Division. Administration.
Yes, as mentioned, the owners want to build an accessory building. This was submitted to the Development Review Committee. The committee had no objections and recommended it forward for council for consideration for approval. Under the Planning Act, we put up all the necessary placarding and information. We've received no objections or no letters of support, and there was no objections this evening in council chambers at the public hearing.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Ellsworth.
I'm good.
Any other councillors? Councillor Fountain?
Yeah, in the past when we've looked at these variances, there's usually maps attached. I don't see one here unless I've missed it, but would be helpful.
Okay.
Yes, I'll make sure there's maps to the future ones. There was maps when it was presented at the Development Review. I see there's not a map here tonight.
So that said, which side of the building is this accessory building going on?
This is in the back of the building. There's a lane that's in the back. It's an unofficial lane, but there's a lane there. There's currently a temporary accessory building, and this would be a permanent accessory building.
Okay, thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that in the Development Review Committee, there was maps there. I went and stopped by and took a look at it as well, and there's plenty of space back there. There's a hydro line, but that's still far away from it. And the Development Review Committee saw that and everything was good. And we are, as Deputy Mayor Ellsworth said, we are farther away from the property line than in other instances.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'll be reporting.
Councillor Copeland, did you have any?
My question is this is commercial property in that building on Cree Road? Am I correct?
The property itself is commercial, but it's also currently under a public institutional zone. So as long as it has a compatible use under that zone, it's allowed to do those things in that zone.
Is the fees more or less? Is
It
there
would still
any
be
fees?
privately owned, so it would be taxable.
Thank you.
Any further questions of council? Comments? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Six point two is a resolution endorsing Councillor Valentino and Deputy Mayor Ellsworth as the Northern AMM representative. Resolution 2020-197, moved by Councillor Valentino, seconded by Councillor Wong. Whereas the Association of Manitoba Municipalities is comprised of mayors, reeds, and councillors that represent the citizens of Manitoba Incorporated. And whereas each region of AMM has 2 representatives. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of City of Thompson endorse Councillor Valentino and Deputy Mayor Ellsworth to let their names stand as a Northern Director to the AMM Board of Directors Administration.
Only that there's elections coming up and there's 2 Northern directors that are available or that can be possibly available. And as such, council should put forward 2 names to possibly fill those. And the email was sent out to all members of council. There's 2 responses received, and those are the names that are on the resolution this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Valentino?
Just that what's happened right now is because of the AMM convention next Monday, there's been board positions come forward, and these positions would only go until June, and then we'll go back to having our district meetings of an AMM, where it would be time for elections also again. So it's kind of a mini term, I guess, if it was to come up. And it will be virtual, and the information will be given to all mayor and councils.
Thank you. Councilor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can someone explain to me about this? I thought we only allowed to run one office at a time, but I know Kathy, Councilor Valentino already directed, she stepped up to run the executive. So I don't think you can run the 2 positions at the same time. Am I right or am I wrong? Can someone explain to me?
You can't run them concurrently. I believe the way this is set up is Councilor Valentino puts her name forward for vice president, which council endorsed. Those elections are in a week or 2, I believe. And then if she's unsuccessful, then she has the opportunity to go back to the Northern District type role into those elections. But because of the way council's process is, council wants that endorsement step. So the only way to do it is to do the endorsements this evening, even if there's another race on the go.
Thank you.
Just a clarification again, sorry. When you said there's a 2 position for Northern, I thought it's only one on this side and one on the other side.
That's correct. There's one for east and one for west.
Okay, because the way I heard, I thought you said both of the council want to run the Northern.
But I believe there's one position, but if you have one person gets into another seat, basically if Councilor Valentino is successful and ends up as the vice president, then City of Thompson would have no one running to be possibly into that other seat. So by doing this, we're covering our bases, or the mayor and council are covering their bases, so that you have more than one person available if that seat comes up available.
Councilor Valentino?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that because our process is that we have to pass the resolution, we don't have time for whether or not I'll be successful for the vice president position for City of Thompson to have somebody at the table. So we're just covering our bases to ensure that hopefully we'll have a City of Thompson person at the Northern District rep.
Thank you. Councilor McMurdo?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that kudos to Deputy Mayor Ellsworth and Councilor Valentino for stepping forth and taking this on potentially. Because anytime we can get a voice from these chambers as the district rep, I'm sure it's only beneficial for Thompson.
Exactly, it's always good for the north. Any other councilor? Call for the question, all those in favor?
Right.
Carried. Six point 3 is a resolution supporting the Municipal Enforcement Support Program. Resolution number 2020198, moved by Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, seconded by Councilor McMurdo. Whereas the Municipal Enforcement Support Program recognizes that the COVID-19 pandemic has had financial impacts on municipalities and that many municipalities may not have the capacity within existing budgets to increase enforcement capacity. And whereas a strong enforcement approach is a key aspect of controlling the spread of the virus, ensuring the continued health and economic well-being of our municipality. And whereas the province is making funding, training, and coordination supports available to assist you in enforcing public health orders within our municipality. Now therefore be it resolved that council support administration applying for the Municipal Enforcement Support Program. Administration.
This is an initiative that was announced by the Premier about a week and a half ago. It's to empower different municipalities to enforce the public health orders related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The way the timing worked, this was sent out on Friday the 6th. It was due last Friday, but a council resolution can come as late as the 20th of November. So on council's behalf, I applied because we had not had time to have a meeting to see if council desired to do this. And now this is council's opportunity to debate if they'd like to have our bylaw officers and CSOs possibly enforce these. Could be any of the designated officers of the city of Thompson, or if you would not like us to do so. So if there's no resolution and it fails, then we're not in the program. If there is a resolution that passes, then we're in the program with the province.
Deputy Mayor Ellsworth?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I've read this information over. And I believe with the, I don't have to tell anyone in this chambers, with the pandemic that we have in Manitoba, I was looking at the list, was comparing the United States and the rest of Canada, and we're way up there. I think we're about 5th down with the states included. And one of the biggest issues, we also seen what happened in another city this week, which was disregard from people coming into that city, doing rallies for not having any masks. I think it's imperative that we be involved, that people trained, and the more people we can have that enforces it, the better off we are. We have to fight this pandemic. We have to make sure that people are kept safe. And when the government is willing to train, to look after the cost of the training, and we can empower more people to be able to go out and enforce these outdoors, I think the better off we are, as not only as a community in Thompson, but certainly as the province as a whole, because you got to remember, people are coming from the north, people come from the south, coming to our community, and I believe that they're still not in the area, and I'll give you an example. I was at a local establishment last week. I'm not going to name it in the chambers, and I had to be there. It was a bit of an emergency, and I observed people shopping, no masks on, since we've been into a red zone. And I say that there has to be enforced, and I would hope that the fellow colleagues here tonight would support that we do. And I don't know who would do that. I'm not saying it should be CSOs, whoever it is, but at least let's get the training. And then if we can get some people to be involved to carry this out, that'd be great. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Fountain?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, one of the things that I remember the most about when this virus first started was the Chinese government taking people against their will and putting them into facilities to hold them. And while I realize that that's not what this is, for me, I'm a very strict constitutionalist. I feel like this is a line that once you step over is opening the door for much more. So although I respect the intent of this, and I believe it's not malign, I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Valentino?
Yeah, I'll definitely be supporting it. I think that we have to be realistic. We're not going to ticket or fine our way out of this virus, but any kind of enforcement that might help reduce things is a good thing. And it's my understanding, if I can get clarification from the city manager, that the fines will go back to the municipality if there's any enforcement done within our community. Is that correct?
Any fines that are laid by any of our city officials, those revenues would come to the city. So that it's all like a subsidy system. The province will take care of all the court costs and all those other issues that would go if the ticket is challenged. But they would basically provide a subsidy to the city equivalent to the ticket.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councillor Landmark?
Yeah, I'll be supporting this. I see that in other communities where warnings have failed, I know we haven't had many warnings besides to a few businesses in town, because we only have the public health inspector and no one else enforcing it. Besides, now we could possibly have bylaw officers or our CSOs or whoever our administration puts forward to enforce these with tickets. There are also some of the provincial enforcement officers that might be available to do this as well. Anyway, I know that the province is really pushing to make sure that there's enforcement happening so that people take this seriously. And until that happens, I'm worried that we're going to keep on spiraling, and we don't want what's happening in Winnipeg and the PAW happening here. I don't want to, sorry for those poor people with all the infections they have, but let's stay out of it, and hopefully this will keep us as low as we are or better. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wong?
My question to administration is, do we have enough manpower to do this?
That would be the further discussions with council if you want some of the regular duties of our staff diverted towards this, or if this would be something that would be after hours. My understanding is that the province is looking at subsidizing payment of wages as well. So they might pay for overtime enforcement of these. They would also be responsible for coordination. So if they have a complaint, then we were one of the enforcement agencies. They would call us and say, there's an issue over here. Could you please go to that particular issue? So the preliminary discussions I've had would not be that we have dedicated staff just looking for enforcement opportunities, but rather as calls come in where there's a request for an enforcement or check, then that would be checked on. Almost like someone sees a triple parked vehicle or a parking infraction and makes a complaint. If a COVID complaint would come in, then a member of staff would go out just like it was a regular bylaw, but in this case, it's a provincial health order.
You had a follow-up?
Please. Is there any projection timeframe that you can roll up this plan if you really want to get on it? Any projected timeframe?
I would anticipate that the training would happen in the next week, at latest next week. So other municipalities, I believe, are already beginning some of their training, but like I said, the deadline was Friday. I know the city of Winnipeg has had their training, but other municipalities will be starting in the next week or two.
So it's kind of time sensitive to apply the program, and also the projected training will be how long?
The training is 1 day. That's why I already applied on your behalf. So the application's already in, but it requires a resolution to confirm it. So because it was time sensitive, I had it in already last Friday. This is your opportunity now to confirm that you actually want to do this.
Councilor Murdo?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would just like to say I will support this resolution, but I would just like to caution us to be careful when it comes to enforcing these infractions, because it has been proven where the province has kind of overstepped their authority, saying you can't go into a neighbor's house, essentially wherever where they might not have that authority. So I think that if we enforce it, it should be obvious and egregious actions, and not, doing head counts at people's houses, checking IDs to make sure that we're to the letter of the law.
Okay, thank you. Earl, did you have a
Yes.
comment?
Has there been very many complaints about the COVID rules being broken right now?
RCMP receives several a day, I believe. So they've responded to those. As we're not part of the program, we don't get those other numbers. So I received the numbers from RCMP because they report to us, but I have not heard of other government agencies.
And I do get some comments that people send to me that
Yeah,
pass
well,
on. So
my concern is you go, okay, want to pick on nobody, but Walmart, you go in there and there's a crowd of people. Now, I don't know how many they're allowed. I went into Canadian Tire one time and they were counting how many people were going in, counting how many people were going out. Now, is that enforced or?
Under the public health order, a commercial business is required to be at 25% of their capacity, and that's the responsibility of the business owner. So if a complaint was put in on capacity, that's when an enforcement officer would go there and see what measures are in place to ensure that there's 25% capacity being maintained. But how that's done would all be through the training.
What is the capacity, what is the formula for figuring out the capacity of the building? Like, say my place, if I was allowed 25%, I got 1,200 square feet.
The fire and the building inspectors under their respective codes would be able to calculate that. So it'd be based on square footage, number of exits, the type of business, those sorts of things. So they'd be able to calculate what the capacity is of that area or that building.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
anyone else?
This
Dr.
is
Powell?
very important to me. I don't think the limited amount of funds or time will give us the ability to enforce this, which I think is very tricky in terms of rights. I would ask that we have a recorded vote because of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors? Brian, you have his hand up? Andre? Oh, Brian, okay.
Is there? Good, Rick.
Go ahead, Brian.
Just quickly, Some of the direction that the province has given so far is whoever's doing the enforcement will write the ticket. It'll be up to the judge to decide whether or not that sticks. That's basically what they're saying. So somebody does an infraction, somebody writes the ticket, and it's up to the judge what happens. That's about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I know there's no definite date for an end in this pandemic, but is this something that we'll revisit in 6 months or see where we're at and decide to lift it, or does it just kind of get lifted automatically?
Anthony?
As a provincial program, the province will discontinue it at their discretion. So the same with the public health orders. This would be done, I believe, under the public health orders. They're in control of it.
Councillor,
On that, so if we opt in now, can we opt out before the province decides to mothball the enforcement program?
Yes, yeah. It's not like we're signing a contract. They're asking municipalities to do this because they say they don't have enough enforcement officers. So there are municipalities that are refusing to do this.
Duncan first, I believe.
Sure. The only concern I have to add another job to our city to take care of this kind of business, I think it's going to be overwhelming. Like, I'm just worried about, we could even write a ticket for parking or, you know, garbage day and stuff like that. Now we want to add more duty to our staff. For 1 day training, I don't know. It could be abuse, could be cause a problematic late down the road. I get it. The province pay for all those training costs or legal costs, whatever, but it's still, I cannot support this at this moment because of the another fine to the public, which is, I don't think it's a well trained at the time frame that provide. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Colbert?
So this is just applying for the funding, right? It's not
Yes.
the enforcement part that we're going after right now.
This is for all of it. So the way it's written, they needed the application in by Friday. This is saying we're interested in the program. That would bring the potential for funding, that would bring the training, and it would bring the ability to enforce or to hand out those tickets with respect to the COVID-19. And then all the costs of what goes on afterwards that Councillor Lundmark referred to with the courts and all that would be at the province's cost. So this is all as one. If council after this time decides we meet with the union and talk with other agencies that you don't want staff doing this, we just withdraw. But to get into the program, this is the process that you have to take to get into the program.
Councillor Fountain?
I'm good, sorry.
Anybody else? Okay. Call to the question. All those in favor? Recorded vote as per Councillor Fountain's request. Councillor Valentino, Councillor Prue, Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, Mayor Smook, Councillor McMurdo, Councillor Coburn. Did you have your,
Brian's got his hand.
and Brian's got his hand up. Councillor Landmark. Opposed? Councillor Fountain, Councillor Wong. Carried.
Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Fountain voted twice.
Yeah, yeah.
Need to redo this, please.
I'm so
So he
sorry.
keeps talking.
It's been a long day.
I saw that. That's okay. We're giving him the benefit of the doubt.
You got me as an
I got
opposed, right?
I got
Thank
you as
To
opposed.
clarify, I'm opposed.
You're opposed. 6.4, resolution to support. Oops, we just did that, sorry. We're going into bylaws.
No, sorry.
No, I was right,
6.4.
6.4, okay. A resolution to support administration applying for funding under the fire protection grant. Oh, this would have really won me an angst to get with Councillor Fountain. Resolution 2020-199. Moved by Councillor Fountain, seconded by Deputy Mayor Ellsworth. Whereas the Manitoba government has created a one-time $5 million fund to provide fire protection grants to support fire protection and emergency response across the province. And whereas the fire protection grant will be open to municipalities and Northern Affairs communities and will support projects or activities that improve fire protection or emergency response in those communities or mutual aid districts. Now therefore be it resolved that council support administrations applying for funding under the fire protection grant. Administration?
Yes, this was a grant that was announced when the mayor and I were at the AMM Cities Caucus in Steinbach before the lockdowns began. It was announced by Minister Squires. The $5 million grant, it didn't really have a very formal application process. It was basically sent out to the fire departments to apply and say, these are the things that they have in the highest need. What we did is we had the fire chief and his staff put together their wish list of what they needed, which are some things that are normally brought to council for consideration under capital, and put those requests through to the province to see which ones they could get funded. It does require a resolution of council to endorse their application for these items. So that's why the resolution has come forward this evening for hoping for support to apply for this grant.
Thank you. Councillor Fountain?
Well, it's wonderful to see this, and Madam Mayor, I'll remind you that for the longest time, I've advocated for wildfire control in this community because we were talking about COVID, but realistically, there's no greater threat to this community than wildfire. We've seen that in a number of northern communities from Fort McMurray to I think Great Slave Lake or Great Bear Lake, sorry, I don't remember the community. I'd like to see some of that funding, if we receive it, go towards that type of program, which I don't believe will cost a lot of money. And the details on how we can go about doing that's already been done in the Fire Smart program. And then if we have money left over, I'm sure there's a number of councilors here who agree with me that a fire hall has been called for a number of times. I would support that program as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Other councillors? Councillor Valentino?
Yeah, I'm going to support the wish list that was provided as is to go in. Obviously, education and the write-up was a big part of it, so I think that would cover a lot of the topics. In the memo, city manager, it said November 6th was when you wanted the wish list back. Was that the province's deadline, and are we still going to be okay with putting this in now with the resolution? And also, was there any end date on when the announcements would be for this funding?
I'm not aware of the end date. The list had to be in by November 6th, but just like the previous one, the resolution had to come.
Okay.
So we're still within the timeline to get the resolution off to the province to support this.
Great.
But the department had to have it in on the 6th.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Smook. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councillor Wong?
Same question. I'm okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Ellsworth?
Yes, Madam Mayor, looking at I took the time to read through the list that was put together by our department. And it's a very similar list that we've looked at before in the budget. So any help that we can get from the government to get some of these things, I think is a good for Thompson, and certainly I'll be in support of it. And certainly if we can get more out of the government, then the better off we are. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lundmark?
Yeah, I'll be supporting this. I see the wish list, and like Deputy Mayor Ellsworth has said, we've seen these lists. We know that they're there. I just wanted to point out, and I don't know if it's happening yet, Manager McGinnis, is do they have some supporting documents that we can send along with us? I just know that when people are looking at these kind of funding projects, they tend to lean towards things when they know that there's estimates that are more accurate and they're ready to go kind of thing. I know that these may have been old, right? Because we've seen these in budget before. So I'm just hoping that our estimates are close and we have something to back them up.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'll follow up on what supporting materials were included.
Thank you. Councillor?
Yeah, I just would like to say that the thermal imaging cams seem like a great piece of PPE, and the watercraft, given our proximity to the burn, is another great item. Or the demand for our fire and emergency services, I don't think anybody can dispute. So anytime we can get money from outside the municipality is great. Just the one item that kind of stuck out was the 100 grand for ventilation if we are thinking about a new fire hall down the road. But I guess at the end of the day, if it's money from outside the municipality, then we'll welcome it anyways. Just for Anthony, is there any breakdown as to how the funding will be distributed, or is it just as need basis? Or
I've not privy to those details yet. It's not clear to us how the province is going to evaluate these. It's kind of an unexpected program.
okay, so there's no figure that we can expect. It's just
No.
whatever.
It's possible that we get nothing.
Okay.
Okay. Any further councillor comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Bylaw 7.1, second reading of bylaw 2000-2020, zoning bylaw amendment for cannabis retailer store. Resolution 2020-200, moved by Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Valentino. Be it resolved that bylaw 2000-2020 being a bylaw of the city of Thompson to law 1891-2012 as amended by adding cannabis retail store / dispensary as a permitted use in the CMU and CDT 1 zones be given a second reading. Administration?
Yes, as we discussed previously, this is the second reading for the zoning bylaw to use the new use class definition. We had the public hearing this evening. There were no presentations for or against, and we've received no written or verbal objections on this matter. And the recommendation previously from the Development Review Committee for that council were to support this proposed zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor McMurdo? Any comments?
No, I didn't.
Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Alston?
Yes, I'm glad this came forward. Maybe now will be a lot clearer to this provincial government that we actually do have cannabis stores in Thompson and that profits that come out of it should be shared with the city of Thompson. So I'll definitely support it.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? Brian?
Yes.
Aye.
Carried. Seven point three, or 7.2, pardon me, is the third reading of bylaw 2000-2020, and being a third reading of a bylaw, it will require a recorded vote. Resolution 2020-201, moved by Councillor Valentino, seconded by Councillor Fountain. Be it resolved that bylaw 2000-2020 be given third and final reading and that it does now pass. Administration?
Nothing further.
Councillor Valentino?
Nothing further to add.
Anything further with councillors? In a recorded vote? All those in favor? Councillor Valentino, Councillor Prue, Councillor Wong, Deputy Mayor Ellsworth, Mayor Smoot, Councillor McMurdo, Councillor Cole, Councillor Fountain, and Councillor Landmark carried. Oh, yeah, that was unanimous, so I didn't know. That concludes our agenda tonight. Mayor's report. The report tonight is for activities from November 3rd to the 16th. Along with City Manager Anthony McGuinness, we participated in the daily Northern Health Region IMS calls. We're down to 3 times a week now, but they're still very important calls. Along with City Manager Anthony McGuinness, we had a conference call with Minister Squires and Cullen on November the 5th. Along with City Manager Anthony McGuinness, we participated in a conference call with Minister Squires November the 10th. I attended and brought greetings at the virtual Remembrance Day service on November the 11th. We had various committee meetings were held over the last couple of weeks. The city, the whole province has actually been moved to Code Red, and the news release as of November the 10th. Basically, I'm going to read it because it seems we all need a little bit of reminding here. All of Manitoba moves to critical red on Restart Manitoba pandemic response system. This move brings the entire province under the tightest restrictions since spring in order to protect Manitobans, half community transmission. Pallister. Premier Brian Pallister and Dr. Brent Roos, Manitoba's Chief Provincial Public Health Officer, announced that at 12:01 on Thursday, November 12th, the province of Manitoba will move to the critical level red on the Restart Manitoba Pandemic Response System to halt COVID-19 transmission and protect Manitoba's most vulnerable citizens. We are at a critical point in our fight against COVID, and we must do everything we can to protect our most vulnerable Manitobans and ensure our healthcare system is there for Manitobans when they need it, said Pallister. This is a team effort, and we all have a role to play in protecting ourselves, our loved ones, and our community. By taking these measures seriously, we are going to save lives. The new critical red level restrictions will be in effect province-wide and include social contacts reduced to your household only. Social gatherings are not permitted. Travel to and from northern Manitoba is restricted, and non-essential travel is definitely discouraged. Retail businesses listed as critical services such as grocery stores and pharmacies can remain open at 25% capacity. Retail businesses not on the list are able to provide a service, curbside pickup or delivery services. All personal service businesses, including hair salons, barbers, and sites offering manicures, pedicures, and other aesthetic services must close. Gyms and fitness centers must close. Religious and cultural gatherings must close to be provided virtually only. Restaurants must close to the public and may be open for delivery, drive-through, or takeout only. All recreational activities, sports facilities, casinos, museums, galleries, libraries, movie theaters, and concert halls must close. We have taken steps in individual regions, but it's time to take a drastic move approach to halt the rise in case numbers and widespread community transmission of this deadly virus. I cannot stress enough to all Manitobans, now is the time to stay home and reduce your close contact. In addition, no changes will be made to child care services for kindergarten to grade 12 education delivery at this time. Russin noted the province has not seen widespread transmission among children, students, and staff. There are a number of things Manitobans can do themselves to reduce the spread that go beyond the restrictions that are put in place. These include reduce the number of shoppers from your household to the lowest possible number. Send only one person to shop. Work from home if at all possible. Reduce travel unless absolutely essential. Remember, all those you have come into contact with recently. As these restrictions go into place in all regions, Manitobans are reminded that compliance and enforcement issues can be reported by visiting and completing the reporting form at www.manitoba.ca COVID-19 or by calling 204-945-3744 and pressing the option 3 on the call menus. Fines are for breaching or failing to comply with the public health emergency recently have increased to $1,296 for individuals and $5,000 for corporations. Manitobans are still strongly encouraged to focus on these fundamentals to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Stay home if you are sick, and reduce your contacts to your household only and avoid closed-in or crowded spaces. Wash, sanitize your hands, cover your cough, and physically distance when you must be with people outside your household. If you cannot physically distance, you should wear a mask or help reduce your risk. Get a flu shot. Unless recommended by public health officials, only individuals experiencing COVID-19 symptoms should go for testing. Individuals with symptoms are asked to seek testing as soon as possible once symptoms are present. Employers are asked to only send employees for testing that if they have symptoms or if testing has been recommended by public health officials. Public health officials are advising Manitobans that if you are symptomatic or if someone in your household is symptomatic, your entire household needs to self-isolate pending COVID test results. The symptomatic individual needs to stay in their own room if possible and use their own bathroom and not common areas. This does not apply to asymptomatic household members if they are essential workers required to wear PPE while at work, such as healthcare workers or frontline. For more information or self-motivation, visit the websites, go to the city website, and it can also direct you to that. So thank you, please. Today there was an announcement that one person, when they went to do their contacts, had 85 contacts. That is way too much. I will also now do a mayoral proclamation. By the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Thompson, I hereby proclaim November 22nd to 28th, 2020 as Manitoba Addictions Awareness Week in the city of Thompson. Thank you very much. I'll go to council. If anyone have Deputy Mayor Ellsworth?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to recognize the fact that the mayor had a terrible accident last Tuesday, which ended up for being in the hospital. I just want to make sure that my fellow colleagues and the public knows that I offered on a number of occasions to step off and help out where needed, when needed. That was declined for whatever reason, but I do want to wish Madam Mayor all the best in her recovery.
Thank you, and I appreciate the reach out from everybody, and if and when I need it, I will be asking more than definitely, and I'd like to thank yourself and the many folks around town that have made sure that my family has been fed while I've been down and out. So thank you all for your concern, and I am doing much better than even the doctors had hoped I am, so thank you very much. With that, we'll call for adjournment. Councillor Coburn, Councillor McMurdo, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Councillor, next time.
I was just thinking of pointing it that way, yeah.
You're the champ, buddy.
Oh, good.
Don't make it beat you.